Tesla stock is down about 9% today. Where are we going from here? How are people positioning their portfolios in option activity? Are we bullish? Are we bearish? What in the world is going on in the markets today? Fed Jerome Powell had his speech protested by climate activists that shouted, "Stop fossil fuel finance, Jay." Yeah, you really can't make this up. What did Fed Jerome Powell say that caused the bond market to sell off and rates to soar, which did not at all help our markets? What's the latest on this Israel conflict that you need to know? What's the Tesla stock news for the day? Besides just earnings, we have all of this and much more for you here in this video. Do me a quick favor because it is free 99. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you guys want to stay up to date with this information each and every single day. So just briefly, Tesla stock down 9%. This is like a rerun of last earnings. You're doing almost an identical move. And I want to get into where I think Tesla stock needs to go here later on into this video. But the couple of reasons why Tesla stock is selling off the way it is. Elon Musk put a lot of uncertainty around the Cybertruck. Number one, he says it could be 12 to 18 months before we see any boost to margins or free cash flow. He said quite the opposite. It's going to be a long time until we even break even on the Cybertruck, is what a lot of investors took away from yesterday. He also did give us decent guidance on the Cybertruck. The production numbers currently are calling for about 125,000 deliveries. Next year, by 2025, around 250,000 deliveries. So the ramp is definitely going to be a gradual one. That's the first reason, and I think the most important reason why Tesla stock is down 9%. The second biggest reason is Giga Mexico and the second gen platform. Elon said he doesn't want to go, quote, full tilt in Giga Mexico until they have a better understanding of what the economy is going to look like. He basically said interest rates need to come down before they go ahead and start construction on Giga Mexico. You guys got to remember, this is a project, $5-10 million all in. Once they start that, they kind of have to do it. So once they actually break ground, then it's going to cost them a lot of money. If people are just not buying as many cars, if their free cash flow is not in a good place, if their business is not in the best possible position, bleeding out money on Giga Mexico might not make sense. So that's actually prudent management by Elon's part. But he was so brutally honest, the stock did not like that. So he gave us no timeline for Giga Mexico. He did reassure that they are actually going to make vehicles at Giga Mexico. That is the spot where they are going to have a factory, but no timeline, again, on when that is actually going to happen. And then he was very just overall pessimistic, and I think he was actually, again, brutally honest. So I respected what he said a lot, but he kept going back to 08, 09, really throwing a lot of uncertainty on the, micro, macro economy of the US and really the globe at that point. Tesla is a multinational company. It's not just dependent on one country. And he did not sound very confident on what things are going to look like down the line. So those are really the three reasons why Tesla stock is down 9%. It had nothing to do with the earnings numbers. They were not as great as you would have hoped. A lot of people were disappointed. I think they were pretty much in line with what I was expecting. There was nothing that was too bad. There was nothing that was really good. So I don't think this drop has anything to do with numbers themselves, but just those three things that I just mentioned. And I should also say, he did not give us a timeline for the robotaxi. A lot of people are hoping the robotaxi is out there on the road by 2026 or 2027. And he did not provide any clarity on that. He didn't even give an Elon wild speculation, which is very much not like Elon. Now, Fed Jerome Powell's speech today really threw a lot of cold water on our markets. We soared initially until he started actually answering questions. Bond yields went dramatically higher. Bond yields are up over 7 basis points today on the 10-year. The 30-year is up over 8 basis points today. Now, some of the major headlines coming out: Fed Jerome Powell says our economy is doing well. He also says, with hindsight, it is possible the Fed could have done less during the pandemic. Again, the Fed's issue is trying to get policy right to bring inflation back to 2%. It's possible we are going into a more inflationary period, but it's hard to know. That one specifically, the markets did not like. Right there. Fed Jerome Powell said it does not feel like policy is too tight, basically opening the door for another rate hike. The effective lower bound is not an issue for the economy or monetary policy. Basically saying interest rates, they're not causing the problem in the economy. He says, I don't know where monetary policy will settle. I say this all the time. Literally, you guys should have this seared into your brain. The markets can handle bad news. The markets cannot handle uncertainty. All of this sounds like a big pile of uncertainty. Okay, that's just what Fed Jerome Powell gave us today. If we look at the probability for rate hikes after these comments from Powell, give this a second to update, it looks almost certain we're not going to get a rate hike in November. December looks a little closer, relatively speaking. 68% chance of no rate hike, 31.3% chance of one rate hike, and almost a 1% chance of 2 rate hikes by December. Fed Jerome Powell says markets may be responding to deficits and Fed balance sheet actions. Imagine it like this. The Fed for so long has been keeping rates low by actually buying the bonds. If you think about the state of the government, the financial balance sheet of the government, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, before the Fed started buying bonds, it was in a much healthier position. Well, today, when the Fed is no longer buying the bonds, and you look at the current government financial balance sheet, income statement, spending a lot more money than they're bringing in, what should that yield be? Yields are based on risk. So the higher the risk, the higher the yield. Well, the U.S. government is definitely riskier now than it was 20 years ago. The yield's got to be higher. That's essentially what Fed Jerome Powell is saying. So that is causing TLT to hit new lows today, down 1.55%, again, causing the rise in the 10, the 20, the 30-year bonds. That is not good. This does really 2 things. Obviously restricts financial conditions, right? Tightens them with bond yields going higher. I'm floating my interest rate on my next rental, trying to see if rates will come down in the next 30 days or so. Does not look like that is happening after today. So it does that. It restricts financial conditions. Number 2, it makes your unrealized losses on banks' balance sheets a lot worse. That same problem that hurt the banks in March, it has not gone away. It's actually gotten much, much worse since March. March was up here, right? Since March, bonds have fallen about 21.5%. The banking crisis is not over if bonds continue to fall to this same degree. Let's get into a brief war update, then we will get into everything you need to know as far as Tesla stock news here on the day today. Jordan's foreign minister, Safadi, quote, "We fear the worst in the ongoing Gaza war based on all the indications." This is probably because there was a lot of rockets fired at Israel today from the Hamas wing. Hezbollah in Lebanon has claimed responsibility for the roughly 30 rockets that have been launched towards northern Israel within 1 hour. The defense minister of Israel stated today during a speech to IDF soldiers near the Gaza Strip, quote, "You are now seeing Gaza from afar. Soon you will see it from the inside. The order will soon come. Israel has reportedly begun the process of evacuating a number of its embassies and consulates across the Middle East as well as Northern Africa, with diplomats claimed to be departing from Jordan, Turkey, and Morocco. And I'm going to go ahead and show this picture that I've showed many times. The Strait of Hormuz is considered a choke point for oil. If you do see Saudi Arabia, Iran, or any other oil-producing country in the Middle East want to retaliate against Israel or anyone that supports them, the easiest way they could do that, best way, you could argue, financially, is just restricting the flow of energy, and that would have detrimental effects on the world economy, essentially for the US. That's why this conflict is so important to stay up to date with, because at any given moment, this could turn into a real black swan event and could give you 20, 30, 40% plus downside in the NASDAQ or in the S&P if that worst possible financial scenario were to play out. That's honestly not too unrealistic if this war does spread. Let's now get into all of your Tesla stock news that you need to know today. Canaccord Genuity has lowered their Tesla price target to $267 from $293, keeping their buy rating. This is what they had to say. Quote, "It didn't have the same zip. A lot of talk about rising interest rates, a tough Cybertruck production slog ahead, and future cost reductions that would be like digging a tunnel with a spoon. It was a little drab. Weird. We await Tesla's earnings calls with a sense of excitement and suspense, and they usually deliver. Not Wednesday night. We suppose management's tone reflected the world's current mood. Sober, looking to understand what's next. The discussion certainly offered several interesting tidbits: FSD details, a November Cybertruck launch event, and energy storage business that keeps rocketing. And our long-term view on Tesla remains unwavering. As a matter of fact, it's been enhanced by the UAW strike, press reports about a new gigacasting technology, and an Optimus robot that appears to be coming alive. Nevertheless, we cannot dismiss management's message that as we await new products and revenue drivers, the company is managing through a difficult environment with rising rates and geopolitical twists. We are lowering our estimate to reflect more gradual margin improvements and slightly subdued unit growth through 2025. We are also lowering our target from 293 to 267 to reflect these changes. Tesla China's first Model 3 Highland deliveries are set for the end of October. The update was posted by the electric vehicle maker on its official Weibo account. As per Tesla China, 2 versions of the upgraded Model 3 will be offered in the country. A rear-wheel drive version that starts at $35,540, and a long-range dual-motor all-wheel drive variant that starts at $40,400. BMW is taking a learning step from Tesla and now switching to a direct consumer sales model in Europe. Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas has reduced his Tesla price target to $380 from $400. Quote, "In our opinion, Q3 2023 was one of the most cautious Tesla conference calls we've heard in years." Adam Jonas says one of the most important takeaways from the Q3 print that bulls must confront is the change in sentiment around the Cybertruck. Much attention has been paid to the over 1 million orders, which has skewed towards more bullish expectations of the model's volume. Quote, or parentheses, "We regularly speak to investors anticipating 500,000 plus annual volume, not the 250,000 that Elon Musk referred to in this evening's call." And again, that 250,000 was for 2025, not for 2024. Beyond questions of volume, it is clear that the ramp of this model will be margin dilutive for the time being in terms of manufacturing challenges and ramps. There are a lot of firsts with the Cybertruck, including the 28-volt low-voltage system, 800-volt powertrain architecture, unprecedented large metal stampings, largest flat glass installation on a production vehicle, a host of other firsts, including new manufacturing processes for consumer-ready fit and launch. I will say, out of all of this, it looks like you're basically hitting rock bottom for expectations. At least that's what Elon had to say. Obviously, numbers could get worse, but you were down 13% heading into this print. Now you're down another almost 9% right now. From Q2 earnings, about $300 per share is where Tesla stock was right before earnings. You're down about 26% from there. So you've dropped a lot recently. So you should be baking in a lot of bad news, and hopefully this really reset expectations on an analyst basis, and hopefully we just don't have super egregious expectations for Tesla earnings next time around. Lucid looks like they're going to be unveiling their Lucid Gravity at the LA Auto Show on November 16th. ChargePoint announced today that it is beginning to roll out support for the NACS connector. Now, the comment that really turned the markets around at least a little bit is this comment from Fed Jerome Powell. He says higher bond yields is a tightening and at margin could reduce the need for the Fed to tighten. So that was one of those comments that we have heard from other Fed speakers, Fed Harkin, Fed Barkin, Fed Collins, Fed Daly, Fed Bostic, Fed Kashkari, all of those guys, they basically said that 10-year, 20-year, 30-year treasuries rising the way that they have is doing the work for the Fed. And Fed Jerome Powell, the most important one of all of them, just reiterated the same exact thing. Now, if we take a look at Google Trends data for Tesla, it looks like all of Tesla's models have ticked up. Maybe because of the earnings, maybe because Elon made so many headlines the way that he was speaking. That's a possibility. But nonetheless, the Model 3, the Model Y, the Model S, and the Model X are all spiking yet again. And if we do go ahead and take a look here, that's interesting. The most demand for search trends on the Model X is actually in Russia. If we look at the Model 3, it's Indonesia. If we look at the Model Y, Norway has the highest search trend data. And if we do take a look at the AI investor sentiment, it looks like as of yesterday, 34.6% of investors were bearish. That is less than what we've seen for the week of October 11th. 31.3% of investors are neutral, and 34.1% of investors are bullish. So just a lot more people that are neutral. The neutral number went from 23.5% to 31.3%. That is quite the jump with this gray, this neutral line. You are at the same level of neutrality as you were during the week of September 27th, 2023. You're actually getting pretty close to a one-year neutral high. That was back in February of 2023 at 39.9%. If we take a look at the option activity for Tesla, this is not all too surprising. You're seeing almost 1,200 orders totaling $343.47 million with a positive order value of 39%. Today is going to be another very big day for option activity. As we even expected yesterday, you ended the day about $2 billion worth of option activity. Today's probably going to be a similar number. I would say over $1 billion, probably less than $2 billion. We really want to see what that positive order value comes in as. Again, bullish positioned options that go towards this positive order value are buying calls or selling puts. Obviously, bearish positioning is buying puts and selling calls. The shorts are definitely having a field day with this one today. The dollar amount sold short in Tesla stock is 20.72 billion, and I imagine this dollar amount is probably going to go even lower as the share price of Tesla is going lower today by about $21 a share at the time of recording this video. So if you take a look at the charts for Tesla, you have officially broken your upside trend. This is not great. This was a big break. 8.5–9% break of trend. That's not a small break. Now, the trend has been ever since January of 2023. You've been connecting these lows, bouncing off of these lows on this line, even as recently as, October 18th, yesterday. You still were following this trend. Yeah, not so much here today. I think it's almost a certainty, you need to fall and hit that 200-day moving average. That is definitely going to happen. Question is, does this Israel conflict get worse? Do the markets just get worse themselves? Then could you overshoot that? Absolutely. Could I see Tesla stock falling under 200? Absolutely. Could I see Tesla stock falling under 180? Probably not. So I think 180 is like your ultimate buying level. But I do think right now is a really good time to be buying Tesla stock as well, because you just really don't know. I think the situation would have to get pretty bad in the markets for Tesla to hit 180. I don't think Tesla just continues to sell off, especially after this almost 8.5%, 9% down day that you were seeing. But if the situation did get worse in the Middle East, if the U.S. got involved, 180 could definitely be in the sights. 150 is like your ultimate worst case scenario, in my personal opinion. That is if, energy were to go crazy, the Fed had to, start lowering rates. Yeah, it would be a total shit show. Let's just call it how it is. The shit would hit the fan and start spinning at that point. Okay, it would be really, really bad. If you take a look at the MACD over here, that is pretty dang negative, starting to go negative at least. Not looking too great. The RSI is really bad. The RSI is at 30.73. Good news is when the RSI hits 30, Tesla typically does bounce. The only time that we really have seen that recently where Tesla has not bounced at the 30 RSI, that was back here when Elon was selling stock to fund the deal of Twitter, and Tesla remained oversold from about December 14th until about January 5th or so, January 6th or so. So about 3 weeks here, Tesla stock was oversold under 30, but almost every time you bounce at 30. So if you are a savvy investor, savvy trader, right now, it's probably a good level to take a position in Tesla, bullish, leaning, because Tesla typically does bounce at the 30 on the RSI, and you are at 30.68, so right on 30. If we do take a look at analysis on the option flow in its entirety, remember, this Ortex data for option activity only takes into consideration big money trades. These are hundreds of $1,000 trades, $1,000,000+ trades, sometimes like $50,000, $100,000. But by and large, those are not retail investors included in that. When you include everything, the total call volume is 1.37 million. The total put volume is 1.17 million. So you're actually seeing more calls being bought on Tesla stock today than you are seeing puts bought, and the number is huge. If you look at open interest on Tesla, that is 7.86 million options that are held in the calls, in the puts, both directions. The option activity today, the total volume is 2.54 million. So you are seeing almost half of the total open interest trading hands today in just volume. That's big. So expect a lot of volatility ahead with Tesla stock. Does this earnings change my opinion on Tesla? Absolutely not. I'm actually more bullish now because the lower Tesla stock falls, the bigger your return is, the more money that you can ultimately make. And I would much rather have a CEO that doesn't care about his share price in the near term. He doesn't want to cater or cuddle up to Wall Street, that really says it for how it is. Wall Street will respect that a lot more, and I think Elon just earned a lot of credibility points for this one. Let's just be honest, Elon's not known for being someone you can really believe his word, but after this, you gotta take Elon at his word a little bit more, because he's not in the camp of just saying outrageous negative things, okay? When he says things that are blatantly open to bearish interpretation, you gotta respect that. You gotta at least respect that, if not believe what he's saying. So I think it does create a little bit more credibility with Elon for anything he does say ahead, especially the comments on the Cybertruck really dampening expectations. That's the first thing he did on the earnings call. Before he did anything else, that's what he did. So sure, could there be downside? Yeah, but the longer term idea of Tesla is still intact, and it's never been better than it is now. Tesla has 26 billion of cash on hand. They increased their cash position by $3 billion. Nobody's talking about that. I have not heard one analyst comment on Tesla's cash position. So there's a lot we could obviously get into in this regard. That's going to go ahead and do it for this one. I don't want to make this video all too long for you guys. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you made it to the end of this video. If you guys would like to come trade with us live in real time, every single day I do make trades. I post my alerts. Link down below in the description of this video. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.